This is Jim. Jim recently graduated from college and found a job with a decent salary and benefits. He has a great apartment in the hippest neighborhood in the city and pays his bills like rent, electricity, groceries, and his student loan payments. But Jim likes to go out with friends a few times each week, and he keeps up with the latest fashion trends by turning over his wardrobe twice a year. Jim's job offers him an employee match of up to 6% for contributions to a 401k plan. But Jim is kind of confused by the funds he could invest in and hasn't made time to investigate what his specific options are in the plan or make a contribution to it. He'll get to it later, he figures. If Jim were to start contributing to his 401k in his early 20s, he could have over $1.2 million by the time he's 65. In time, though, Jim forgets about his 401k as he allows other priorities to catch his attention. First, he decides to buy a new car, even though he uses public transportation to get to work, and he can walk most other places he needs to go. Jim also spends money on a number of girlfriends over the next few years until he meets Alice. Jim and Alice fall in love with each other and get married at age 32. Jim and Alice paid for most of their wedding and honeymoon expenses themselves, and Jim is working on paying off that credit card debt when he remembers about his 401k, which he's been meaning to contribute to now that he has a wife to think about as well. If Jim were to contribute 6% of his salary to his 401k now, he'd have just $675,000 by the time he's 65. If Jim still wanted to have $1.2 million by the time he's 65, he'd now have to start saving 13% of his paycheck instead of just 6%. Fast forward another 10 years. Jim and Alice are now 42 and have 2 kids. Jim has seen steady increases in his pay as his career has progressed, but he contributes just 3% of his salary to his 401k. If he continues at this rate for the rest of his career, by the time he is 65, he will have just $225,000 saved for retirement. If Jim had started saving $160 a month when he was 25, he would have $1,000 in monthly retirement income. If he had started saving at age 35, though, he'd have to save almost $270 a month to generate the same retirement income. If he waited to save for retirement until he was 45, Jim would have to put away nearly $500 every month. That's more than 3 times what he would have had to save when he was 25. Fast forward another 20 years. Jim and Alice are now 62 and would like to retire after 40 years in the workforce. Both of their kids are grown and married. Jim and Alice help pay for their college education and their weddings. Unfortunately, Jim has saved just $250,000 towards retirement. Even if he delayed taking Social Security and worked for another 5 years, he still wouldn't have nearly enough money to last him through retirement. Healthcare costs alone could eat up all of those savings for Jim and Alice. They would have nothing for regular living expenses, there will be no traveling in retirement, they won't be able to afford a new car if they need one, and they won't be able to leave a bequest to their children or any grandchildren. It's easy to find yourself in the same position as Jim and Alice. Saving is a habit, and if it doesn't start early in your career, it's hard to adjust a lifestyle to which you've become accustomed to suddenly decrease by 10% or more. The way to avoid this is to start saving early in your career. The longer you wait to start saving, the more you have to put away later. At a minimum, Jim should be saving 6% of his salary pre-tax. This allows him to realize the full match his employer offers through the 401k plan. Jim also needs to accept that certain sacrifices he makes now will yield significant returns later. Buy a used car rather than a new one. Limit yourself to one night out with friends each week. Buy fewer new clothes. Scale back the money you'll spend on your wedding. And although it might seem a bit counterintuitive, parents should save for their retirement before contributing to their children's college fund. Why? First, students have a number of sources for college funding: scholarships, loans, grants, etc. Individuals, though, have only so many sources for retirement income. Second, it won't do their children any good if Jim and Alice put them through college, only to have to support their parents in retirement for years. So, to avoid finding yourself short of savings when you enter retirement, remember the following guidelines. Start saving early in your career. At the same time, it's never too late to start saving for retirement. Federal law allows for catch-up contributions to be made by those who are over the age of 50. Next, Be sure to invest at least as much in order to maximize your employer's matching contribution. That's free money. Finally, once you are investing, keep an eye on how your money is allocated in your 401k plan. If you fail to take an aggressive approach early enough, or fail to adjust your asset allocation over time, you could still end up short of the funds you need for retirement.